In today's video, we're going to be doing my round 4 SuperCoach team. Before we get into my team and my trades, we'll do a little review of last week. I ended up scoring 1,214. I was at first a little bit disappointed with this score, but then I ended up having a top 15% score, and I got some solid green arrows moving up 3,500 spots, and I'm now into the top 10k, so that's pretty good. Definitely a much better start to what I usually get off to, so let's hope to keep this consistency going. So here's my team. There is quite a lot of plays out this week. It's given big like round 27 vibes where players are just mass resting, because it just feels like there's 10, 15 very SuperCoach relevant plays out. The biggest one being Payne Haas. A few people are saying 3 weeks. I think I'm just going to hold even if it is 3 weeks, because you're just going to want to end up getting him back anyway. And if you look at Paseka and Howe, both of these guys are scoring mid-50s, and I'll take that for 1 week because I'll have Trey Mooney back, who's averaging 64 next week. So this will just be a little 1 week fin. I reckon my team has enough upside to make up for these 2 cheap front rowers that I have playing. We're getting into my first trade. I traded out Bo for more, and I've got in Joe Chen, who was just a play that I missed out on. Bo Thermal was doing good. His lowest score for the first 3 games was 50, but his highest score was only 63, and the Titans, especially attacking-wise, have just been struggling because they can't really hold onto the board and making a ton of errors, and they're just getting smashed every single game. So I reckon I can pick up Bo Thermal a bit cheaper, and he wasn't really getting the upside I was hoping he would, especially because he averaged around 80 when Alex Brimson played 5/8, so it just wasn't really his year for Bo Thermal. I'll pick up Joe Chen, who should make around 150k over the next 3 weeks. My second trade, I've gone Ryan Couchman up to Simi Sasungi. Now, if we look at his stats, he only has a break-even of 15, and he's projected to move up another 30k this week, which means he'll be close to 500k. And his scores have been very good, especially when you consider the fact the Raiders have only scored 16 points in the past 2 weeks. Highest score of 84, and he scored that 84 when the Raiders lost 40-6 to the New Zealand Warriors. So he scored well even when his team has done pretty poorly. He just has such a good base. He runs really hard. He's pretty much a second rower playing centre, which is just perfect. And he's getting decent stats, good points. He has dual position as well. I think he's a nice, decent pod. He's definitely not locked into my team. This could be a trade that ends up changing because Ricky Stewart said in an interview that Matt Tomoko is close to coming back into that centre spot, but I'll just have to wait and see. Nathan Cleary's my captain. I feel like 69, it's still like all right, but considering his team scored 40, I want to see a little bit more out of Nathan Cleary this week. Playing Parramatta, I think he'll have a very good week this week. Tom Chester suspended. It's only 1 week and he still has a negative break-even, so I would advise holding him if you could, because there's still a little bit of money to make. And if you look at his other 2 games, he scored very well. He scored we'll look at his stats. He scored a 62 and then a 74, and that 62 was all in BP. So just if he can do that every week, he could, I don't want to say season keeper, but he could move up to around 450k. So there's plenty of money. Don't just write off Chester because of 1 bad week. I reckon he's an easy hold. Jesse Raymond, someone who hasn't really worked out either. It's just that the Sharks' attack has just been pretty bad. They played Penrith and then they just got thrashed by the Dolphins. I'm going to give Raymond a couple more weeks. He has showed he has got that upside in him, scoring 117, I think it was, in round 1 against the Titans. And I think the Raiders are a pretty decent matchup this week. And in my final trade, I've gone Scott Drinkwater to Reece Walsh. I do feel a little bit dirty selling Scott Drinkwater after he finally had a good game, but he's the type of player you need to get when he's on a run. And Drinkwater's draw now is a lot harder, and Walsh's draw opens up completely. He's got the Dolphins this week, then he plays Gold Coast and North Queensland. And he could even have the goal kicking for all three of those games with Adam Reynolds' rib cartilage injury. So I'm very excited about Reece Walsh. I think he's near a must-have. He could be someone who just makes or breaks your season. And very excited to have Reece Walsh. So that'll be my team for this week. Make sure you like and subscribe. Drop a comment on your thoughts. And if I do change my trades, I'll post a YouTube community post as an update like I did last week. So I'll see you next week for round 5 SuperCoach.